to us, and nobody has claimed that $100,000.
That's
So
right.
that's a done deal. We stand on business all day that who Master Farad Muhammad, and that's been up there for years. I don't know when that paper was published, that particular article was published, but I would love to find out so I could quote how many years that's been out, and nobody has been able to prove that he's not who he said he is. So that's finished in my book. Until you come and claim that 100,000, then you ain't got nothing to talk to us about.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Go
if you got
ahead.
proof, go ahead and claim that money.
Yeah, that's it.
Claim the money. Don't talk about it. Be about it.
Yeah. That's all I'll say. Go claim it. You ain't got to come to me about it. Bring your proof. Prove it. The burden of proof is on you.
Bring your proof and get and cash your check.
Yeah, cash your check, me.
And hey, guys, it's saying that it's requesting for a passcode. Did you guys have to have a passcode to get in? Because I see all of you folks got in.
Not with the link you sent in the email. There's no passcode in the link.
It was for Brother James.
No, you read it to me.
Right.
Passcode is 897222.
Right. Because some people are saying.
And when I redid it, it initially asked me for one, but then I redid it and it came through.
Man, what's that? A leather coat, leather jacket? What you got on, brother? Dr. Wadud, what you got on, soldier?
It's a shirt, brother.
Oh, you ready to go to the club, to the Muslim club? Right on, brother.
That's what them wealthy doctors wear when they're on camera.
Well, y'all gonna make me go off camera.
No, sir, you ain't got to do that, family. We want everyone to please send the link out to at least 5 people right quick, if you don't mind, just so they know. As a reminder, 1 and 2, to be a part of this reality. We're just getting going, and we need all the support we can get. We appreciate that.
Let me send the link. Some people are actually going to my Zoom meeting right now. I got to redirect them.
Uh-oh.
Meeting ID?
The passcode?
No, I know the passcode is 897222.
You need the meeting ID as well?
Yeah, because you need that first.
Okay. All right, 1 second. Let me pull that back up. And type it in so you'll have it. It's 843 6357.
You fade it out.
6357.
Wait, 843.
6.
And what's after that?
635.
You faded out again.
You can't hear me? Can anyone else
fade out? You faded out. Okay, 843
63
63
57
57
91
91
76.
76. Okay, thank you.
I'll be right back.
Was that Brother Luke Mine that said that?
Yes, sir.
Okie doke. All right, we'll be getting going in a few minutes, folks. Brother Philip, did you get a chance to send it out?
don't know how many of them. Everybody's occupied.
Are you talking, Brother Philip? Oh, you're on mute. Okay. Oh, okay. So they went to the wrong one. How come they went to the wrong one? Huh. Dr. Wadud, can you hear me, beloved?
Yes.
When you turned around and
Yes.
you logged on, did it ask you for a passcode or a meeting ID?
The first time, yes.
Really? Huh. Wow. Hmm. Okay.
And that was from the link that came last night. So I went and found one from a few days, I guess last week maybe, or a few days ago, and that one did not ask me for a passcode.
Okay. Okay. I think I may have to send that to a couple people. I did send it. Okay. Look out now. All right. I thought they wasn't doing nothing. All right. Let's see. I think I gotta do that. Copy that. And let's see. Go back over here. Okay. Passcode in. I got to make sure that these other folks were able to what's that? 97222. Okay. Right. Let's see. So did everyone get that passcode and that meeting ID? I put it in the chat just in case if any of your folks need to get in there.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fantastic. Let me make sure because I'm sending it to everybody because I just want to make sure that they're able to get in. Let's see, just in case. I guess these little hiccups, brother Dr. Wadud, we got to go through them in the beginning, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Brother James, how you doing over
Yes,
there?
sir. I'm doing good. I'm doing good, brother. Just trying to send this out to some of the people, who couldn't get on. Now some of them are getting on.
They have said it, and it is so.
Did you need to send you that in one link, brother James?
Catch up to.
You keep fading out.
Is that am I fading out to everyone or is that just to brother James?
You're a little choppy from time to time on my end.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
I can hear you.
You can hear
you loud and clear, bro.
Okay. Oh, praise. At least a couple people said that they could hear me. Rest of y'all got bad reception. No, not for real. I don't know what it is.
Oh,
Praise be to Allah. I am trying to send this passcode. Brother James, I just sent it over to you. So it's in one text, the meeting ID and the passcode. Okay, beloved?
Yes, I got it.
Fantastic. I just, because sometimes people go, okay, well, what's this? Well, what's that? So that way, you put it in one text, then they're able to see it, fam. Let me see. Let me make sure. All right. Did you send it to Sister Nia and brother?
I sent them the link earlier, but I haven't sent them this one with the passcode yet.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
going down the line.
Okay. Just in case so they can get on. We appreciate all you fantastic brothers and sisters that are here and that are being patient with us. We will get going shortly. Let's see.
I do see a Wahid on the in the
Oh,
participants list.
okay.
Okay, good.
All right. Great. Fantastic.
Brother Wahid.
Great. Fantastic. Great, great, great. There it is. Ah, okay. Here we go. All right. Brother Lukman, did you make it back yet, sir?
Please, I'm in.
Okay. You guys about ready to get going?
Yes, sir.
Or are you still sending
One.
out stuff?
Yeah, I just had to send out a couple more.
Okay. We'll do just like we did yesterday, Brother Lukman. Open up in prayer. I will say it in Arabic and I'll just say it in English. Is that all right?
Yes, sir.
All
Yes,
right.
sir.
We're going to open up in prayer, position of prayer. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah al-Alamin, ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, maliki yawmiddin, iyyak na'budu wa iyyak nasta'in, idnis siratal mustaqim, siratal dimo, na'mu alayhim, waladalin, Amen.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, Master of the Day of Judgment in which we now live, the alone that we serve, thine aid that we seek. Please, Allah, guide us on the straight path, the path upon whom thou hast bestowed favors, not the path upon whom thy wrath is brought down, nor of those who go astray after they have heard thy teaching. Ameen.
Amen.
I mean,
Okay. All right. Welcome to the LTS Network, learning the science of the mathematics in the subjects we are teaching on for that day. We are the knowledge brokers of LTS. Joining us, we have Brother Lukman, the math theologist, Brother James, the student, Brother Dr. Wadu, the medical doctor and a master electrician. I am your commentating valet, Brother Ibrahim, the healing visionary and futurist. We have united to give you a different mathematical angle of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad under the guidance of the Honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan Muhammad. Within this conquest, these are the rules of engagement. We have what's called deliberative dialogue. Dialogue is a meeting of persons on the basis of equality, means of the the thou and the I of self and the we as a family of Muslims. Each segment of our show is 500 seconds. That time frame is referenced from the light of the sun and the time it takes for the light of the sun to travel from the surface of the sun to the surface of the earth, which is 8 minutes and 20 seconds. So, dealing with each subject that we'll speak on, the 500-second segment is in effect. Questions are to be controlled. A person cannot just randomly speak. They have to be given permission by raising their hand and by going through the chat section and typing in their questions for this Zoom call. There will be a time where we will allow people to speak, and that person will be timed and given 90 seconds to make their statement. While being on the LTS network, you must turn on your camera so we can see who you are. And once we've acknowledged and seen you, then we will give you permission to then cut off your camera if need be, because we understand people at work, people are doing various things. Please keep your phone muted or your computer muted, especially if you're speaking to someone in the background. And right now, for all of you who are part of this fantastic show, this is our second show, We hope that you have the link. Evidently, if you're here, you do have it, and you've joined us tonight. And we thank you for that. We really appreciate it. And we'd like for you to please send that link to at least 5 people that you have, that you communicate with, so they can come on board and become a part of this. And we'll give you about 30 seconds for that, and then we'll roll on to the first segment of the show. To please send out that link right quick, you guys, and we appreciate that. Okay. All right, folks, here we go. This is Learning the Science Network. This is our second show. And the first segment is dealing with Supreme Wisdom problem number 13. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, now you must speak the language so you can use your mathematical theology in the proper term. Otherwise, you will not be successful unless you do speak well, for she knows all about you. Studying the theory of mathematics, which is theatrical mathematics, theoretical mathematics, and the learning how to apply your mathematics is applied mathematics. The first question to the LTS team, the Knowledge Brokers, is what kind of program has the devil used to manipulate and control the Black family? First up is Brother Lukman.
Assalamu alaikum, family.
Walaikum salam, sir.
Walaikum salam, sir.
So I guess the thought is we want to try to see how we can apply the concept of mathematics to how the devil has manipulated the Black family. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Well, that's an interesting question. Trying to apply the concept of mathematics to the control of the Black family. I'm going to have to think on that question for just a moment to see how we can make problem number 13 applicable to that question.
Yes, sir. Brother Dr. Wadud.
Assalamu alaikum, family.
Walaikum salam, sir.
So in approaching that question, I began by looking at problem number 13 and how it's written, but I also began with the thought that we should be of the mind that even if white people have not said it, if it comes from any of the divine three, Master Fard Muhammad, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, or the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, then it's so. From there, it's up to us, in my opinion, to catch up to the understanding of what they put forward. So in looking at problem number 13 and the knowledge of mathematics being a precise study, there's no ambiguity in mathematics. It's exact. So if just looking at the words, I'm reading it from the Supreme Wisdom, after learning mathematics, which is Islam and Islam is mathematics, it stands true because mathematics calculations, there's no ambiguity. The formulae and the quantities input into those formula always give you a specific answer. You can always prove it at no limit of time. Then you must use it. You must use the ability to make accurate determinations based on sound facts. And that will then secure you some benefit while you are living. Luxury, money, good homes, friendship, and all walks of life. So looking at math, looking at the equations and the numeric values that go into those equations, being precise and giving accurate outcomes each and every time. That's one of the scientific methods of deriving from a theorem into a factual, maybe I'm saying it backwards, from a hypothesis into a theorem of what actually is that you can predict the outcome, you put in these particular inputs of numeric values, you know what the outcome should be based on the formula and the inputs that you put in. So if we follow that pattern, we can arrive at right conclusions.
Yes, sir. Brother James?
After
who sat down with 2 liters of the giant pizza. Taylor?
Somebody needs to mute their phone.
Teammate Ryan Burns.
Okay.
Somebody
I don't know
needs to
who
mute
that
their
is.
phone.
Had a better
Okay. Phil, you got to mute your phone. Somebody got to mute their phone.
Okay. You go on.
After learning Islam was his mathematics, and mathematics is Islam, Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, you want to know the truth of something, go to the root. The root of us is mathematics. We started off mathematically at the very beginning, over 78 trillion years ago. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us as the first movement we made was a number 1. So we have a mathematical base and foundation. As we started off in the heavens, we will eventually end up in the heavens. Why? As it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. We are mathematically precise, right, exact creatures. The mathematical structure is designed that we would start off, it's tied to the musical scale. So we start off do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, where T is unresolved. T is a state of tension. And then it goes to a higher octave of do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So we go to a higher frequency. That's how we were originally designed at the very beginning, but we had to go through something that would be steps to purify us. If you look at us in sports or in music or in dance and things like that, you see the mathematical composition of the Black man and woman. And the mathematics, it's no delay when we're doing certain movements on the football field or the basketball court. We don't stop and think, we just naturally react. And that's because of the melanin that's in our system. If it wasn't for the melanin in our system, we'd have to stop, delay, think about what we're going to do. You watch white folks or other people, they don't have it as smooth as we do. One of the mathematical constructs is the names that we were given. It says a good name is better than gold. Also, in the Holy Quran, it talks about Adam. He was told, Adam, give them their names and tell them their names. Why? Because a name denotes function. Function is a mathematical concept. Adam was told to give us our names so we would know what our function was in life. If you look at a person's name, when you go to sign a document, they ask, please give us your signature. And signature, if you look at the word signature, you have 2 words in that word signature. You have S-I-G-N, which is sign, and then N-A-T-U-R-E. I'm adding another into it, but I moved it back. Signature. That means it's a sign of your nature. So the sign of your nature is tied directly into your name, because a good name is better than gold. As the earth is purified of people who have names that are basically meaningless to the heavens and the earth and meaningless to God, that will change the dynamics because we're taught in the problem book of how many atoms are in the atmosphere. Why are we taught how many atoms are in the atmosphere? Because every human beings carry their own atmosphere with them. Every person has their own atmosphere.
That's
And
right.
you can affect the atmosphere. You personally can affect your atmosphere. Now imagine an atmosphere where the earth is going through a purification or a cleansing process to where after a while, once certain enemies, you won't hear any cursing. You won't hear any lying. It won't be any deception. Things of that nature, that will change the earth into a totally different earth that we're on, and the earth will vibrate at a higher mathematical frequency. Why? Because all the things that stresses the human being out will be removed eventually, gradually from the earth. Part of that purification is done through water. So even if you look at lesson number 2, problem 8, where it talks about how what makes rain, hail, snow, and earthquakes, talk about the water going up towards the heavens. As it goes up, guess what happens? All the impurities, they're too heavy, so they can't reach the heavens. So what reaches the heavens is a pure form of water. That's part of the purification process of the human being. Certain human beings cannot reach the heaven. Why? They're too polluted.
Yes, sir.
They're too polluted. And so that's why the black man and the black woman, we will be able to reach the heavenly home. Why? Because that's where we came from. That's how we started. That's how we originally started, as it was in the beginning. So shall it will be, and so shall it be in the end. We started off mathematically, we'll end mathematically. This is a mathematical creation, always has, always will be. And so I still have 2 minutes left, but I yield.
Yes. Okay, Brother Lukeman, are you ready, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I would like to attack this very quickly from two different perspectives. But if I could, I would like to address it with regards to the black family and use one of the other lessons from the Supreme Wisdom lessons.
Certainly.
When you look at Lost Found Muslim lesson number 1, question number 6. I was just chewing on this earlier today, this particular lesson. It says, why does the devil call our people Africans? And it says to make our people of North America believe that the people on that continent are the only people they have and are all savage. But then it says he bought a trading post in the jungle on that continent. Now, one of the main concepts that we can keep in our mind, based on the words of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, is that Allah is a scientist who speaks in formulae.
Yes.
Therefore, each one of these questions is not just a question. Each one of these questions is a formulae. And a formulae implies you input information, and based on whatever you input, you get or receive what's called an output, correct?
Correct.
So that means
Yes,
each question can also be considered to be a function. For those who understand what a function is, each question is a function. The minister also stated that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the second scientist who looked into the formulae and broke it down. So when you look at how these questions are formulated, there's a question, and then there is a breakdown of information that is contained in the question, correct?
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
if we look at this from a mathematical standpoint, and I have to always give credit to Brother Batin, may Allah be pleased with him. Brother Batin always spoke about what's called the fundamental when you deal with what's called acoustics in physics. It's called acoustic. It's the science of sound. But in music theory, when you have a musical note, and all this is going to tie in, when you have a musical note, there's a note that you hear, and then that's also called the fundamental, but it's also called the first harmonic. And contained in that musical note, there can be anywhere from 12 to 19 to whatever number of harmonics or overtones that are contained in that note that you typically don't hear. As you become trained in your hearing, you can hear the other harmonics that are contained in that note. Now, what does that mean? If we take that same principle and we apply it to our lessons, then we will see in our lessons there's fundamental wisdom in our lessons, but it becomes applicable in all aspects of our life. So now what does this have to do with the black family? It's interesting that the enemy would cause a division between us and the people on Africa, our family on Africa, by calling them savage. And he causes a division between us, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
But at the same time, he puts a trading post there to do trade.
Hmm.
So he puts information out to cause division and to ill affect and ill speak about the different groups that allows him to build a trading post in so he can benefit from the division.
That's right.
The enemy has done the same thing with the black family. He's caused a division between the father and
Hmm.
the father and the daughter, the mother and the father, the mother and the daughter, the mother and the son. He causes a division amongst all the components of the family. But at the same time, he has implemented a trading post where he can benefit off of all of those divisions. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes.
contained in that
It's
lesson, there's one way of explaining uh, we go back to the question, is one way of explaining what type of program has the devil used to manipulate and control the black family. He used divide and conquer. He keeps us divided so that he can build a trading post. In other words, he benefits off the ignorance and off of the anger that the mother has towards the father. He benefits off of the father has animosity towards the mother. He benefits from the parents having animosity toward the children and the children having animosity towards the parents, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Now, on the level of mathematics, the way he keeps us divided, and based on the notes that I was just writing down, he gives us just enough knowledge of mathematics in order to pay our bills, but not enough knowledge how to multiply our income.
Go.
Mm.
Go ahead.
Keeps us just enough mathematics to keep us confined into the mindset of an 85 percenter, but not enough mathematics for us to become a 5 percenter. Does that make sense?
That's right.
Yes.
So he gives us just enough mathematics. And when you understand how the school system has been established, and this was something that I learned, I like to give credit where credit is due. Sister Deborah L. Muhammad taught a class about over a year ago, where she took us into the foundation and the background of how the Western world educational system is set up. And it's based on the educational model that originated in Prussia. And in that model, there was three levels of education. There was one that focused on industry, where it made the workers and it maintained them and confined them to the area of being a worker. Then you had the leadership or management, and they were given another level of education that was different than the workers. And then when you had the rulers, those that were in charge over everything, they received a different level of education. Well, the enemy's doing the same thing today.
Mm-hmm.
So they indoctrinate our children, which means to put a doctrine in, but they don't educate, which means to extract information out. And that's part of how they're keeping us divided. They're keeping us illiterate, which is the same as being ignorant, correct?
Yes.
And
correct.
the last thing I have to say to this, I might get some flack about this, but when you look at the level of mathematics and science in this country, compared to the rest of the world, we're doing terrible.
Oh,
North
absolutely.
North America is one of the dumbest countries on the planet, number one.
Yes.
And what has added to that ignorance is the introduction of what's called Common Core mathematics. And for those who don't know what Common Core is, that can be maybe a subject for another time. But when you look at the level of mathematics that's taught in India, Indonesia, Japan and China, they're running circles around us on the level of mathematics.
Yes, sir.
And it's causing a dumbing down of our children in North America. And that's what guarantees their children in positions of rulership and power because there's separate educational systems and we're not a part of theirs.
Yes, sir. And that's bro.
And
Were
I
you,
yield.
Brother Lukeman? Were you finished, or were you saying
Yes,
something?
sir. Yes, sir. I'm done.
And to add on to that, beloved, the three things he said he would never teach us: the science of mating, the science of business, and the science of warfare. And when you look at that and deal with that from a mathematical standpoint, that's saying, I'm going to make you a permanent underclass. And I'm
Yeah.
going to make sure that while we're ranked 25th in the world in education, 17th in math, that's what the United States, but you rank number one in weapons. It took mathematics to build those weapons. In order for you to do what you did, you used math, but you hid what you knew and didn't want the original man to be able to elevate himself from a horizontal dead state to a living perpendicular. Very critical. Rolling on to the next question. The next question, sir.
Before you move forward, Brother Craig, could you reread question
talking
number
to me?
2?
Oh, number 2. Yes, I haven't sent that yet.
Oh, I thought that's the one that you were addressing. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, family. Number 2 right now. And Brother Dr. Wadu, you can lead off with it. It is, what were the mathematics and how did Satan use mathematics to keep the original black man in a horizontal state of mental death?
So I must have a different order of the questions because I heard something about program and then what program did the devil use? But I think that my answer will be applicable to this question as well. So the word program implies organization. And our science from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that after motion, Allah gave order. In the English language, the words to order something is, to echo from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who's an English perfectionist and proficicionado. To order is a verb transitive, meaning an action which requires a target or object upon which the action is executed. To order is to organize something, which is the same as saying to give structure or to program functions of an object. So what kind of program, structure, organization, or order that did the devil use to manipulate? Well, to manipulate is a violation of mathematics. As I said earlier, math is factual and unalterable or manipulable. The devil's program of manipulation and control is outside of mathematics. His program has Black people who are the functional parts of the family unit functioning on guesswork, not precise, accurate, fundamental mathematics. Former American President George Bush, the son of the first Bush, used the term fuzzy math when he criticized his brother opponent Al Gore back when they were running. So what is fuzzy math? That's non-factual calculations and deductions of things. And so that's the arena that the devil has used on us as Black people, that we formulate thoughts and ideas and conclusions based on quote unquote fuzzy math. And it was noted that George W. Bush wasn't supposed to be a smart person, that he only went into one of the Ivy League colleges based on legacy, not because he had the academic wherewithal to have actually been there. So the enemy has utilized removal and manipulation of mathematics to disrupt Black people. And then he's so crafty with using mathematics that he formulated the same system that Brother Lukeman just spoke of divide and conquer, the Willie Lynch syndrome. And he even, with his calculations, projected that the Willie Lynch syndrome could be perpetual in time, accepting that the enemy is not able to use higher mathematics, which was brought to us because the enemy in devising the Willie Lynch was not able to calculate the variable fact of Allah coming or appearing in the person of Master Fard Muhammad to disrupt what had been set in motion and constructed or programmed as a way to keep us oppressed and perpetuate their own dominance and authority in the world. So that would be my statement.
Yes, sir. Okay. Brother James, do you need me to restate that question, sir?
Yes, please.
Okay. What were the mathematics and how did Satan use mathematics to keep the original Black man in a horizontal state of mental death?
The mathematics he used started off with falsehood. He can only rule if he makes false appear to be truth and truth appear to be false. That's why in the Bible, in the book of Revelations, it said when the people of the earth would wake up, they'd look and say, hold it. This is the man who had everybody shaking. No, not this punk. This guy's a punk. You know, he got everybody spooked out. He puts your mind up in the cloud somewhere, and he takes everything on the earth. While he have you looking above the earth, or he have you looking into the center of the earth, he's running everything on the earth. So he had to give us a heaven and hell that were not true. Because if we knew the true reality of heaven and hell, we never would have fell for that. In the scripture, it says, every man who see him shall slay him. That's how you know Satan couldn't be one individual person, because after you slayed him the first time, he wouldn't be around to slay the second time.
That's right.
So he couldn't be one individual person. It has to be a group of people that represent that satanic mindset. They use divide and conquer. So what we're going through right now is Yaqub's history in reverse. Yaqub's history is the same history the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is living, but he's living it in reverse, right? You know, when the minister leaves, a lot of us are going to end up going to jail. The teachings of Yaqub didn't become very popular until Yaqub was actually incarcerated. And then they'd go out, they'd find more people teaching. They'd fill the jail up again, they'd find more people teaching. They'd fill the jail up again, find more people teaching, until it got to the point the king had to go and make a deal with Yaqub.
That's right.
And so when the minister returns after his stint of being removed from us for a while, whoever's in charge is going to have to go make a deal with the minister. And what did Yaqub ask for? Yaqub asked, give us a land or territory of our own and give us the resources where we can take care of ourselves for 20 to 25 years. You know, just let us be. A lot of people, we don't think, where is America going to get that money from? People think America's broke. And in many respects, she is broke, but America has money that she cannot spend. America has money that she cannot access.
That's right.
That money just happens to be in Fort Knox. Did you know that money in Fort Knox belongs to us?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that money belongs to us, and they're not able to spend it. It's hundreds of billions of dollars. I don't know what the latest calculation is because gold just hit a record high yesterday. Yesterday or the day before, gold just hit a record high of $4,000 an ounce. I knew what it was, a couple of months ago when gold was hovering a little over 3,000 an ounce. But I mean, gold is going to continue to go up. That money is ours. This society is going under. You see revolution coming on. Elijah Muhammad said at the time of Yaqub, dissatisfaction was 70%. Right now, he said dissatisfaction is between 98 and 100%. A 98 and the dissatisfaction back then brought about a 98% change. So 98 or 100% dissatisfaction will bring about a 100% change because people aren't going to accept it. You look at our brothers and sisters in Africa, they're rising up. So you get Captain Ibrahim Traore in Burkina Faso. You get Goita in Mali. You get Abdul Rahman in Niger. All throughout the African continent, one of the things Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught, he said at a certain time, an African leader would rise up and he would give white people 72 hours to leave with nothing but the clothes on their back.
Yes, sir.
And said, tell them everyone who don't leave within that 72 hours will be killed, men, women, and children.
Yes, sir.
And he said, and the ones who don't leave, they're going to kill them. And then white people are going to kill the black people that's in Europe. So if you're thinking about trying to move to Europe, I wouldn't do that if I were you.
Yes, sir.
Because it's some things that's awaiting this world where you're going to see everybody turn on the Western world. With the war that's coming up, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said 2/3 of the people of the earth will be killed. Now imagine it's 8 billion people on the earth right now. 2/3, that means between 5 and 5.5 billion people will be killed here on the earth. So those are some of the things dealing with the mathematics of what they use to try to divide and separate us, because that's the only way they can rule. They can't rule in truth. They can only rule with lies. That's the only thing that keep them in power. And once you understand the lie and the nature of the lie, you can't rule you anymore.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And I yield.
Yes, sir. Brother Lukman, would you like me to repeat the question, sir?
No, sir. I got it right here in front of me.
Yes, sir.
How did Satan use mathematics to keep the original black man in a horizontal state of mental death? One of the way I perceive that question begins with the word horizontal, and I look at that word from the standpoint of calculus. You have what's called a constant, what's called the constant rule.
Yes, sir.
And the constant rule is a rule that defines a horizontal line that we could say if we have X and a Y axis, and let's say the X axis represents time.
Yes,
So
sir.
as time progresses, if that line is horizontal, as time progresses, that line doesn't change. So that could be used to describe individuals that might be studying the teachings or quoting mathematics, but not bringing about a change. a horizontal line represents something that exists but is not changing. It's kind of like a jackass carrying books. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
And I look at that from this standpoint. There's a quote by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and it's the opening letter with regards to the self-improvement study guides. And one of the things he says in the letter, he says, he says, it is not enough that we grow horizontally through the acquisition of farms, factories, banks, industry, trade, commerce, money, and good homes. As you can see by the daily news, Allah God is destroying and rendering bankrupt people who have money and good homes.
Mhm.
He says, why? Because horizontal growth alone is death. So when you look at the fact that in this society, people connect wealth to the acquisition of things.
Yes.
Then he says, all dead things are on a horizontal level. So an individual that has a lot of money, but they have no righteousness to them, they have no spiritual responsibility, they're just a dead person that has a lot of money. The minister says, therefore, we must grow vertically. We have to grow in uprightness, or we'll be overcome by our horizontal growth.
That's
So it's all right to get access to luxury money, good homes.
mm,
But as we go after those items on a material level, we have to balance that with the intellectual, the mental, and the spiritual. In this world, in this government, we have a lot of dummies that are very wealthy.
yes.
But on a spiritual level, they have no soul. Or they have, the scripture says, what man will gain the world and lose their soul? It's okay to gain the world, but you don't want to have to give up your soul in order to acquire financial gain. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes, sir.
Sorry.
And then when you deal with that was just dealing with the horizontal growth. But now when you deal with mathematics, how did they use the mathematics to keep the original black men in a horizontal state of condition? We have to understand we don't learn the same way they learn. There's two key books I would put on the table for us to take the time to actually read. One book is called The Metu Neter by Ra
Yes.
Nefer Amen, because he goes into the science of what it is to be dual brain, left brain and right brain.
Yes, sir.
Matter of fact, that was one of the first books that I began to study years ago. I was blessed to meet the brother around 2007, 2008. Beautiful brother. Um, and when you read that, it goes into the whole science, which traces back to the Kemetic way of education, which is our birthright, with respect to the left brain and the right brain, and how these two sides of the brain actually are utilized to acquire knowledge that will allow us to attain to higher levels of consciousness.
Correct.
The second book I would refer the participants to is a book called The Alphabet versus the Goddess. And I think the author's name is Leonard Schlain, Schlain. And if I'm not mistaken, he's either a neuroscientist or he's a neurosurgeon. And he goes into the whole science of left brain and right brain. And if I remember correctly, he speaks on how the ancient civilizations were dual brained. They used both sides of the brain to learn. So when you deal with the Mayans, the Aztecs, the Olmecs, the Dogon, the ancient Kemetic civilizations, our ancestors, our people utilized both sides of our brain, and we communicated wisdom through pictures, which is really the pictures contain mathematics. But an individual that is left brain dominant, which is considered to be masculine, looks at the picture and cannot interpret the wisdom because they can't use the right side of their brain. I believe in the Islamic tradition, in the last days and times, you have what's called the Antichrist, who's called the Dajjal. And the Dajjal is described as an individual whose right eye has been injured. I believe that means individuals whose right eye, it means their right side of the brain, meaning the feminine side of their thinking has been corrupted. And the corruption of the feminine side of the brain is at the root of the corruption of the feminine side of creation, which is the woman.
Go ahead.
So they can't teach mathematics dual brain, and that's why our children will suffer in the educational system because it's not taught. It's not taught in a way that's conducive for us as original people to learn because we are more inclined to see things from a spiritual standpoint as well as a an objective standpoint. And in learning that way, it allows us to produce our own creativity, our own perceptions, our own thoughts, our own cognitions. The educational system of this world gives you information, wants you to repeat it as you received it, and don't say anything beyond that. And if you give it back exactly how I gave it to you, you can pass the test. Then you get a degree, and then after 4 years, there's a piece of paper, and you're just as stupid as you was when you started college.
Mm-hmm.
Your right side of your brain. A nation can rise no higher than its woman is an
Woman.
external principle, but it's also an internal principle.
Yes, sir.
We have our nation, ourself can rise no higher than our own level of creativity that we can produce. That is how we manifest the God that's in ourselves.
Yes, sir. Beautiful.
I yield the floor.
Yes, sir. And to add, brother Lukman, to what you said, a dual brain refers to the concept that the human brain has two hemispheres, left and right, like you said, that are specialized for different functions. The left hemisphere is typically
Mhm.
associated with the logical thinking, language, and analytical skills, while the right hemisphere is linked to creativity, intuition, and spatial abilities. This duality allows humans to perform a wide range of cognitive tasks by leveraging the strength of each hemisphere. In some contexts, the term can also refer to individuals who have developed separate, distinct modes of thinking or consciousness, or to the idea of integrating both logical and creative thinking in a balanced way. Brilliant what you said. I had to add that in. And most Caucasians, in the way they operate, they want to separate and divide blacks because they know who you are and they know your ability. They don't want you to awake and be able to do the God-given gift you have by the duality of being able to work the right and the left and to do it under control. You feel me?
Can I add one point to that?
Yes, sir.
At the same time, they keep us divided.
Yes.
And I'm going to use this as an example. At the same time they keep us divided, they put up a trading post in our community.
Hmm.
This is similar, and I will use this as an example. Let's say you have a brother who's looking to start a courtship with a sister, and I'll just use a random name, Sister Sandy or Sister Sally. That'd be a random name, Sister Sally. So this brother wants to to start a courtship with Sister Sally. But then you have an individual that will speak ill about Sister Sally to this brother, saying how savage she is to cause a division between him and Sister Sally. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
But while he's doing that, he's building a trading post because he's already got a letter in that he's trying to get to Sister Sally.
Go ahead.
Does that make sense?
Make it plain.
Yes.
So you have an individual that causes disruption amongst people and by placing titles on them that don't belong to them, because the people don't call themselves Africans, they call themselves Asiatics, correct?
That's
They
right.
don't call that Africa, they call it Asia. So they use the titles to divide. At the same time, they're trying to get to the very same thing that they're trying to tell you that's corrupt.
That's right. That's right.
And they're doing the same thing to us every day.
Yes, sir. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, prove all things, hold fast that which is right and exact.
Exact.
We're gonna I'm gonna go a little further, good brother. That was brilliant. All praises due to Allah. Um, there's a few things here. First thing is there's a question to the LTS team. Brother James, you'll lead off. How is each human a mathematical equation?
How's each human mathematical equation?
Yes.
Because we're math itself. The human is what invented or started math. Math didn't start the human. The human started math. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, "It's nothing outside of us that was not inside of us first." We're the root and the basis of everything in the universe. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, if you could manage to destroy the black man, kill all black people on earth, and he said you couldn't do it. He said, but if you could somehow manage to do it, he said the universe would collapse upon itself. And after trillions of years, what would come out? Another black man starting it all over again. And that's how things are. You know, you can't destroy the black man. You can't destroy us. We're the root of math. We're the reason for math. And math is what's used to build civilization. Without mathematics, you cannot build civilization. The messenger talked about the books that we were given. It said there's 60,000 books in the library. White man was given one. Look at what he built with one book. I mean, with just one. Brother Jabril used to always laugh and he would talk about Minister Farrakhan being in the, he said, Minister Farrakhan is the best student in the kindergarten class of God. He said, we're just in kindergarten right now. And he said, look how the minister is just beating him up. And he said, he's a kindergarten student. He said, imagine what happens when that man is in high school in the wisdom of God. If they just beating him down with kindergarten wisdom. And that is what awaits us. You know, point number 12 in what the Muslims believe, that's Master Farad Muhammad. On another level, it's the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. On another level, it's the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And on another level, it's the individual brothers and sisters in the nation. Excuse me. We in the nation seem to not really understand how valuable we are to the equation of God taking the planet back and purifying the planet. We know Master Farad Muhammad, he's independent. He doesn't need us, but he wants us to be able to come back to ourselves. His whole purpose was coming to make us rulers. So the 6 greatest words, accept your own and be yourself. Who is yourself? Who is yourself? A righteous Muslim. Muslim means one who has been made secure. How are you made secure? First, you're made secure once you know who you really are. They had to take us away from who we were in order to rule us, because that was part of the slave making process from 1555 to 1619. Those hidden 64 years. They had fought with the Muslims in Europe. So they know what the Muslims were about. The Muslims came up in Spain and conquered Spain and ruled Spain from 711 until the year 1492. That's when Columbus made his voyage. They finally ran the Muslims out of Spain. And Muslims had them run. You know, when we drill and say Muhammad got the devil on the run, oh, that's how it was up in Spain. We ran them and ran them. That's how they developed the scorched earth policy, because the Muslims had so much zeal. First, when they went into Spain, before they hit the coast of Spain, they hit what's called Gibraltar, what's known as the Rock of Gibraltar. And that's when he gave the order to burn all the ships, because the Muslims were invading, they had so many ships. And so he said, okay, after they unloaded everything off the ships, he said, okay, go ahead and set the ships on fire. And some of the soldiers said, what do you mean set the ships on fire? He said, burn them ships. They said, what if you need to retreat? He said, you ain't retreating on those ships. He said, you have 2 choices. You either win or you die. He said, those are the only 2 choices. Once he put them in that kind of situation, they went and they were facing the enemy that was outnumbered them 5 to 1. and they smashed them. And then when they hit the coast of Spain, the mainland, they smashed them. They took Spain, they took Portugal. That's why Spain and Portugal, they hit the New World first, because they were using the technology of the day that they had acquired from the Muslims. The Muslims were the ones who set up the universities in Europe. Remember, most Europeans didn't bathe at that time. They say if the king was lucky, he took one bath a year. They didn't believe in bathing. I mean, and one of the reasons why they were after the spice trade, because most of the Europeans ate their food rotten. The meat was spoiled, and so they would use spices to try to hide the flavor of it. And even today, white folks don't season their food. Unless if you go in a lot of these high-end restaurants, you find a lot of black cooks in the kitchen. And then the black cooks, once they teach the white man how to cook to a certain degree, then they get rid of him and make the white man in charge of the kitchen.
That's right.
I worked in the restaurant industry for a bunch of years. I saw it.
Yes, sir.
These high-end restaurants where you go in, dinner for four is $800. I mean, places where they're serving caviar, beluga caviar, $3,000. Places like that where they're doing A5 Wagyu, a 10-ounce porterhouse A5 Wagyu, which is the highest grade that you can get in beef Wagyu, $220 for a 10-ounce steak. I worked in places like that.
Yes, sir.
I worked in guest services, training people on how to deal with guests.
Yes, sir.
But because you deal with a lot of high-end guests, so it's nothing for one of the former presidents to walk in with his security detail, or one of the senators, or these billionaire business people to walk in. But white people, they don't season their food. And when you get around those white people, sometimes they're real honest with you if it's just you and them alone. They will not do it in front of their friends. I've had white people say, James, let's talk. It's just be me and them. They say, we know that black people are superior to us. Say, we know that. So we're not stupid. These are rich people, millionaires and billionaires. They say, we know that. They say, but we can't give black people a fair shot. They say, because we understand if we gave you guys a fair shot, you'd end up ruling everything. You take over everything. They said, it's not that we just hate y'all, which they do. That's deep down. They say, but we understand if we gave you a fair shot, you would be in charge of everything. I've had numerous white people tell me that. I mean, these were not poor white people. White people, we worth $800 million. One white man who ran a company, he had his over company for $60 billion. I mean, these are not poor white people. They'll talk to you real honest if it's just you and them. If their friends around, they can't talk to you honest like that.
Yes, sir.
But okay, but I go ahead and yield. And are we going to take any questions from the audience?
Yes, that's coming up right after we finish with this section.
Okay.
Brother Wadud, Dr. Wadud, the question was, how is each human a mathematical equation?
So each human, if I look at it from the vantage point of my medical background, being an equation and connecting it with what I've heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan state, we are equations from the vantage point. The human body moves based on physics, which is equations.
Yes, sir.
Engineering, the human body is engineered, which is equations. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, in a former address, spoke about when you see a basketball player and they're shooting a jump shot, and their body, their mind, their whole essence has to calculate, how high do I need to jump? How much arc does it need to take to shoot that ball? And the direction, all of the components that go into actually making the ball go into the basket. That's mathematics. And that involves a high level of calculation. From a medical and mathematical viewpoint, you have inputs and outputs, which was mentioned earlier. Well, the body has senses. We identify 5, 6 senses. So you have your 3 S's, your sight, your smell, your sound. And then you have your 2 T's, your taste and your touch. These are inputs into the body that are then calculated. What's going on? What's touching my arm? Is it something sharp and pointy, or is it something soft and feathery? That's a calculation made inside of the mind. And then there are higher dynamics of that sensation, sight. A lot of people may not recognize, but the eye, the globe of the eye itself, is an actual component of the brain itself. So the input of light going directly into the brain and then being calculated into an image. So the body, the human, as a mathematical equation, is all around. Everything that makes up and the dynamics of the human being identifies it through mathematics, from its movements, through its sensations, its inputs, and then the calculations that the mind is able to arrive at from those inputs.
Brilliant. You yield?
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Brother Lukman, would you like me to repeat the question, sir?
Oh, no, sir. I could talk on this topic for hours.
Go ahead, soldier.
I could talk on this for hours, brother, but I'm gonna try to really keep this brief. But I want to attack it. I'm gonna attack it from 2 different standpoints. First, we have to ask ourselves, what is an equation? So when you look at what an equation actually is, you have a mathematical expression on one side, you have an equal sign, and then you have a mathematical expression on the other side. So that's the basic structure of what an equation is. It's taking 2 concepts and balancing them so they equate or are equivalent to one another. When you look at the composition of an equation, if you look at it from the standpoint of algebra, then you will have what's called variables, which are really placeholders. You have what's called constants. You have what's called the variable term, which is a constant that's connected to a variable. Like you might have something like 3x. So the 3 represents a constant that never changes, but the x is where you actually would input a number, and that could be any number that you choose to put in there. Then you have your symbols of operation: add, subtract, multiply, and divide. And then you have your equal sign. And then the same, you have a group of symbols on one side, and you have a group of symbols on the other. Now, how could a person be an equation? If we look at this from, I want to look at this from the standpoint of study guide number 18. There's 2 key things the minister speaks about in study guide number 18 as far as brain structures in what we call the limbic system. He speaks about what's called the amygdala, and he speaks about what's called the hippocampus. Now, interesting enough, when you do the study of the amygdala is one of the places that stores information. And that's just a basic understanding. There's a whole lot, another level of what the amygdala does in the brain. And then the hippocampus actually gives us the ability to retrieve data. So for the most part, when you start dealing with the amygdala and memory, if we were to translate that into the language of the tech or Dianetics, now you have what's called the standard memory banks, and then you have what's called the time track, and you have what's called the file clerk. So there actually is a file clerk, but it's actually called the hippocampus, which is a part of the limbic system that works to retrieve information from memory, from our amygdala, and from different aspects of our brain. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you look at the structure of the brain, it is like an equation that exists in the form of organs contained within the limbic system. It's an equation. So when we take in information through the senses, we see things and we hear things, those are the inputs. And then there's aspects of our thinking, there's memories that we have. Some of these are called constants and some are variables. Now, the thing is, when you look at the word variable and you trace that word down, you're going to come to the word aberrant or aberration. So a person who is aberrated is an individual who is an equation, but they have variables in there that they don't understand what those calculations are. So both sides are not balanced. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
A sane person, if we look at them from the language of mathematics or from the language of chemistry, a sane person represents what's called a balanced equation. An imbalanced equation could be represented, or that could be a demo kit for an imbalanced person because the right side and the left side ain't seeing things in the same light. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so on one level, and again, I mean, we could go on just that part for hours, but on one level, that's how we are an equation. On the mental level, our mind is an equation. But we have not studied to understand all the components of our own equation. And that's why we do certain things and we don't know why we're doing it. We say certain things and we don't know why we're saying it because we have a held down seven somewhere. There's something else working in our mind that we don't understand. There's what L. Ron Hubbard calls the hidden variables that are present. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Okay, now, why is it so important for us to study ourselves? Now, when I first came in the nation, not only did we have to recite the question of the student enrollment and the answer of the student enrollment, we had to know all 20 of the actual facts in order.
Yes, sir.
And we're given the majority of those actual facts are dealing with actual facts that pertain to the earth, the majority of them, correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Now, I want to use an example of why equations are so important and how they're connected to a knowledge of self. But I want the participants I want you to do something on your part. If you have a calculator, I want you to pull out your phone, pull out a calculator, and we're gonna do some quick calculations. I want to do this to prove my point. Now we know, based on our actual facts and based on our teaching, we know that the Earth is 24,896 miles, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
But how many of us would be able to prove it using mathematics? Okay, in order to prove that, we would have to have a formula or an equation, correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That means we would have to have somewhere, we'd have to have some type of an input in order to produce a desired output. In other words, how do we get to 24,896 miles by way of a formula? What would be the input and what is the formula? And why would that be significant?
Multiply the diameter by pi.
We have to multiply the diameter by pi. So now you have one formula that doesn't change. So every time you put in an input, you get a different output, but the formula itself doesn't change, correct?
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the way we learn how that formula works is we take the diameter, 7,926 miles, we multiply by pi, 3.141. And if everyone does that on a phone, you should get 24,895.56, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Then you round up. You round up. You got 0.56 and you have a 0.5. When you have a 0.5 or greater, then the whole
You
number
round up to
round
the.
up.
Mm-hmm.
24,896 miles, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Now, what we just learned from that is that based on our diameter, we were able to calculate our circumference, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us on page 48 of A Torch Light for America. He says, whoever controls I think he says the diameter of your knowledge
Dictates the activity within your
controls
circumference.
the circumference of your activity, right?
Activity. Mm-hmm.
Now, that formula, circumference equals pi times d, or pi times diameter, that would exist. That formula is correct any place in the universe. That's a
Yes.
universal truth. That is like the teachings of the Most High Elijah Muhammad. It's true no matter where in the universe you go. That's undiluted, undisputed truth, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But the kicker here is by understanding the input that is given in our actual facts, it gives us the diameter and the circumference of the earth. Now, the earth would represent you and I, correct?
Go ahead.
Yes.
Now, if I said take that same thing, now multiply 3,000 by 3.141, what number do you get?
9,000 something.
It should be 9,000, I think 423, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Why is that number relevant? Why is that number relevant? So now we introduced a different input to produce a different output, but we gained a knowledge and understanding of the circumference of the planet Mercury.
Go ahead.
So the formula is constant. The formula doesn't change, but the data we put into the formula will produce an output based on the input, correct?
That's in the
Correct.
equation.
Okay. Now what happens if you multiply 4,000 by 3.141? What number would you get? I see lips moving, but I don't hear I don't hear anyone.
What would you
12,564.
So that would be the circumference of which planet? What planet has a diameter of 4,000 miles?
Mars?
That's Mars. So now, because we gained the knowledge of self, Earth, I can gain the knowledge of Mercury, which could be another person, another
Yes.
thought, another culture, another religion, another educational system.
Minister Farrakhan.
We could say it on that level too. But the main thing is we look at the formula and then we learn how to input based on the data we have. And when we gain the knowledge of self as an equation, it allows us to gain the knowledge of everyone else.
That's right, good brother.
So the teachings we have is like an equation or in a formula. And the more we can master our supreme wisdom lessons, and the more we can master what Minister Farrakhan is providing to us, it gives us a knowledge of wisdom and understanding of other people. So we gain a knowledge of self that allows us to gain knowledge of other people. What happens if you plug in 7,000 times 3.141? What number do you get? Sister Sharon, you got it?
21,987.
So now we know the circumference of Venus. So the bottom line is an individual being an equation. The more we study ourselves and we know what is constant in us, we know what's a variable in us, we know what's cold and warm and what's swift and changeable, in other words. When we know what's swift and changeable, the more we study ourselves, we can apply the same mathematics and understand others. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
That is why it's important that we look at ourselves as an equation because it allows us to know all people. And I yield.
Man, this is right up your alley.
Oh, brother, I do this all night.
And the definition of that, for those who don't know, the idea that each human is a mathematical equation is a metaphoric way of expressing that human beings can be understood through complex system of variables, factors, and interactions, much like an equation in mathematics. And that is exactly what my beautiful brother, the math theologist, did. He broke it down before I got to make that statement. But we're getting ready to open up. This is a period of the show where we have, it's called 500 seconds, 8 minutes and 20 seconds for question and answers. So, Brother Lukman, you are the co-host. I made that happen, so I'm gonna let you handle that part because I know you understand it and you can make that rock, good brother.
Okay, does anyone have any questions at this point that they would like to put on the floor for discussion? Any questions? You can come off mute, raise your hand, and just ask your question. Mathematics, physics, it doesn't matter. Whatever subject is on your mind, chemistry, biology, astronomy, doesn't make a difference. Any questions? And let me preface this with this statement. There's no such thing as a stupid question,
That's right.
because the question that you may ask may be the seed or the solution that Allah placed in your mind to crack an atom in the mind of someone else that
Right.
might actually be the solution to what someone else is going through in their life. Allah might give you the gift for them. So if you have a question, don't hold back because you think it's a stupid question. There's no such one. They always say the stupid question is the one that you don't ask. Sister Sharon, 4X.
Assalamu alaikum. Happy Savior's Day.
Like
Salam.
So I wanted to go to when you all were speaking about the two sides of the brain,
Mhm.
the left and right hemisphere of the brain. I would say about 3 years ago, I started studying, and I had sent you some information, Brother Lukman, on hemisynchronization. And I've stumbled upon a FBI file where they did studies on the left and right side of the brain. And they were able to sync both sides of the brain with sound, vibration. And when the two hemispheres are synced, that takes us out of being human or seen as humans. It takes us more into ourselves on the spiritual realm and into the gods that we are.
Mhm.
And in that study, I came upon the Kundalini being feminine, and that lays at the base of the brain. And the masculine side or masculine energy always try to push up on the Kundalini energy, the masculine side. But with the feminine side, it can't be forced. Someone mentioned a nation not being able to rise higher than this woman. So the masculine side forcing on the feminine side, the Kundalini, is not going to work. I remember the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan saying that the woman is the reconnection for the man to God, to the God within himself. So it takes patience. And in the Holy Quran, it talks about patience and prayer, seeking assistance with patience and prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And, not to toot the woman's horn, we understand the assignment and we have more patience. And because we're so patient, when things don't move according to the God within ourselves, we lose patience with the man. If I could say that part like that, because we understand the assignment. It was another thing I wanted to mention concerning the mathematics of us as being made as humans. I was thinking more of on the sacred geometry side, as far as measurements of the human body, how we're all made in that equivalent, the sacred geometry. There was more running through my mind, but I wanted to mention that part.
Yes, ma'am.
With us being able to sync both sides of our brain, and it happens with sound and vibration.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
60 beats per minute, and also is done with Brahms' lullaby, the classical music. So when we listen to that, it syncs both sides of the brain. And the 60 beats per minute, the tick, 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 it sings so far. And the experience is like, whoa, where did I just go?
Good point.
That's the sweet spot. You talking about getting high, please.
Intellectual.
Out of this world. Out of this world.
Yes.
So that's all I wanted to add.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that, sister. Good point.
You got to go find Brahms' Lullaby so I can go get high before I go to bed tonight.
Yes, sir. Was there any other questions?
Any other questions, family? Bring your questions. Don't withhold the questions. The questions might bring us to a whole nother level of realization.
I have a question.
Yes, sir. Who we speaking to?
This is Brother Khalif.
Can you
Yes,
show?
sir.
Can you show your so we can see you, brother?
Unfortunately, it's not allowing me to
Oh,
adjust my screen or even raise my hand, so I don't have that as an option here for some reason. But
okay.
nonetheless, I hope you pardon me for just butting in like so.
Go ahead, brother.
So my question is a little bit more physics based,
Okay.
and I'm hoping that kind of weighty, if you will. But I'm hoping that I can get some clarity. So within the atom, you have quarks,
Yes, sir.
right? And these quarks are all bound together, which make up protons and make up neutrons.
Mm-hmm.
So it is said that the quarks, each atom has three quarks. Those that are positive represent a charge of 2/3. Two of them represent a charge of 2/3, and one of them represents a charge of a -1/3.
Mm-hmm.
When you add the 2/3 and 2/3, that gives you 1 1/3. Okay, just set that aside for a second.
Wait. Say that again, because
yes, sir. So within protons and the neutron, the proton has a charge of a +1.
right, the proton is composed of what's called two up quarks and one down quark.
And that's what I'm referencing.
Okay,
the 2/3, 2/3, and
your
a
neutron, your neutron is going to be two down quarks and one up quark.
Yes,
Now
that's exactly what I'm referencing.
Okay, so now the sum of the proton with the two up quarks and the one down quark is what gives the proton a +1 charge.
Positive charge, yes.
And the neutron, the two down quarks and the one up quark gives it a neutral charge.
That's correct. That's exactly what I'm referencing right now.
Okay.
So keeping that in mind,
mm-hmm.
right? If you have the mass of the quarks, right, they're much less the mass of the proton itself. So, yet they make up the proton, and the proton is actually heavier, right, than the I forget the terms that are used for the quarks. So
you're talking about baryons.
I'm not sure if it's a baron or baryon,
or is it a boson?
Not 100% sure.
Boson.
It's a boson.
Boson. That's
the boson. And we're going in a direction, and the rest of the believers like, what in the hell y'all talking about? The bosons are so when you deal with quantum mechanics, you have the matter particles and then you have the force particles. The bosons are the force particles.
Okay, got you. So more so what I'm asking about is because these I forget the term, but for the quarks, it's heavier than the actual proton. So which implies that something else is contributing to the weight or the mass of the proton. And it is believed that that mass that's holding together, or what the weight or the mass that's holding it together that adds up to the proton, is the gluon or gluonic force, right?
The gluon holding everything, dealing with the strong force.
No.
Correct.
Correct. Let's hold it for just a second.
Sure.
The gluon, that's correct. It's the strong force is when we're talking about
the gluonic force.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So my question is, right, seeing that when these components are comprised, there's another factor involved that holds it together, which allows the mass of the proton itself. So I'm looking through the lessons, right? And the lessons you see all throughout, 2/3, um, 11 and 2/3 quintillion pounds, or, something referencing something in a third, or even the Earth in traveling at the rate of 1,000 in a third. So you see these thirds. And my question aligns with what parallels are there from the nucleus of an atom, which the smallest particles are these quarks, at least as far as I know or have studied, to what relationship do these quarks, which are in thirds, whether it's 2/3 or 1/3, to the big three, the supreme being, his exalted Christ, and his Messiah, in the building of an atom, and how that atom itself, what it's comprised of relative to us here in the nation or as a people.
That's a question that gives me goosebumps, brother. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
I'm gonna come off, go back in the pod on the mute.
Okay. So basically, your question is, when you look at the fact that the subatomic particles are composed of these three quarks, what do those three quarks have to do with the Savior, the Most High Elijah Muhammad, and Master Fard Muhammad? That's your question, correct?
Yes, and how are these thirds that we're seeing all throughout the problem book and throughout our lessons relative to that?
Okay. I'm gonna have to study that second part, but I'll address the first part like this. Give me 1 second to collect my thoughts there. When you look at, first of all, it's interesting that the proton, and that's why our history is not just recorded in the stars on a macrocosm. Our history is also recorded on an atomic level. It's not a coincidence that the proton was actually discovered the same year the Most High Elijah Muhammad was born, 1897.
Yes.
But when you look at the three quarks, this is what comes to my mind. If you study the religion called Shintoism, which is a Japanese-based religion, and you get into the study of what's called the Kojiki, which is the religious book for those that study Shintoism, and when you get into the history of Shintoism, Shintoism begins with the presence of three gods that appear that produce the other gods. Okay. But now if you were to speak, and I'm getting this from a video I remember watching, there was a young lady who practices Shintoism, but she said when you get to the root of Shintoism, it's really the study of quantum mechanics. So when you get into the history of the Kojiki and these three gods that appeared that brought everything else into existence, it said that these three gods actually brought other gods into existence. So now you have these three quarks that, and really there's 6 types of quarks, but there's the 3 main ones that produce the protons and the neutrons. But when you look at these 3 quarks that exist, now this is the way I'm interpreting it and understanding it based on your question. The presence of these 3 quarks produce the atomic particles that produces the rest of creation. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So off the top of my head, just by you just asked the question, I'm just looking at it, but this is going to be something I'm going to study in the next couple of days. This becomes an assignment because I want to know. I'm looking at the presence of the 3 individuals in our midst now, getting ready to produce other gods, which is the root of another universe. So in the very beginning, it would make sense that these, they're on some level, they want to say, well, what are the quarks composed of? Now you got what's called string theory. That's a whole nother, that's all theoretical physics right there. But when you look at, if you try to trace back based on their theory, the presence of these quarks come together in a fine mist that the naked eye can hardly detect, and then they produce other subatomic particles. I see that as the coming together of Master Fard Muhammad and his bringing and calling into existence the Most High Elijah Muhammad Yahweh Farrakhan to produce the foundation that would produce the other gods, which would represent the other particles that would produce a new universe. That is how I would answer your question off the top of my head.
Good point.
Thank you, dear brother. And also, as
One
another
second,
thought,
brother.
as you study
Brother,
that, I'm sorry.
brother Khalif, hold up 1 second.
Yes, sir.
Put
Yeah.
your
Allow
question
Brother James.
put your question in the chat. Put your question in the chat so you don't forget it.
Allow Brother James to respond. Brother James.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that the creation always comes in sets of threes. So if you go to page 146 of Our Savior Has Arrived, I believe it's the fourth paragraph, he talks about how Allah, God was created on the earth, but the earth is not as it is today. I asked Brother Jabril that because on another section, Our Savior Has Arrived, it said Allah created himself in the dark womb of space. And Brother Jabril started laughing. Said, brother, the same question I asked Honorable Elijah Muhammad years ago. He said, he told me that the creation always comes together in series of threes. He said that the origin of creation, you had atom of electricity, atom of water, and an atom of earth. He said, because after all, God had to have a place to live. He said, I thought that made perfect sense. I said, yeah, it makes sense to me too. When you're dealing on the level of quantum physics, when you're dealing with the quarks and the gluons and the mutons, and dealing with the quantum physics, Messenger teach everything spiritual has a physical counterpart.
Yes, sir.
So that's why you get the 2/3 and the 1/3, because the 2/3, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Master Fard Muhammad, they have become one.
That's right.
They have become one. So when you see that 2/3, that represents them. Just like the water molecule, water is composed of what? H2O. The two hydrogen atoms represent the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Master Fard Muhammad. The oxygen atom represents the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan because he's like a breath of fresh air to humanity. In the Holy Quran, it talks about the messenger and the God, that they would be so close, they would be like arrows, two arrows shot from the same bow. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference. That's why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was told by Master Fard Muhammad, I want your mind. I want you to line up your mind with my mind so that they become one mind. So anytime you see that 2/3 and 1/3, that's dealing with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Master Fard Muhammad representing the 2/3, the 1/3 representing the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because remember the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said 2/3 of the book was for him, and another 1/3 of the book was for another man, and he would let that other man worry about his 1/3 of the book. So when you see the 2/3 and the 1/3, and you talk about everything not weighing out, if you go into what the scientists are trying to capture, which is a unified field theory, and we talked about it briefly last time, unified field theory, white scientists said if they can get to the core of the unified field theory, they'd be able to create a universe that's outside of this current universe. And Honorable Elijah Muhammad said if they could do that, they could live forever because we could never rule them because they're not dependent upon this universe. And so when you deal with the unified field theory, you're dealing with the weak force, the strong force, the weak force, electromagnetism, gravity. The strong, now everything has a spiritual counterpart that's physical. Master Fard Muhammad, he's the greatest lover that the universe has ever known. And the root of the universe is love, or truth, or mathematics. You can use all three of those words. Those words are interchangeable. Master Fard Muhammad, he represents that strong force. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, if you study electromagnetism, which electromagnetism is dealing with electricity and it's dealing with light, and it comes in 7 different forms. You're dealing with acoustics, you're dealing with gamma rays, you're dealing with X-rays, you're dealing with microwaves, you're dealing with visible light, and I can't think of the other two.
Ultraviolet and infrared.
Yeah, ultraviolet and infrared. Thank you. Yeah. Those are the 7 aspects that light can come in. It's only 7. It's only 7. No matter what you do, you can't get beyond. If you cover those 7 spectrums of light in those different wave frequencies, you can't get anything else but that's light. If you look at light, when light is running on a wave, the longer the wavelength of the light, the slower it's moving. The shorter the wavelength is, the faster the light is moving.
That's right.
So when you deal that everything would have a spiritual counterpart, Master Farad Muhammad represents the strong force. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad represents electromagnetism. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he would represent gravity, because gravity, you get the word grave at the root of gravity. He's the one pulling us out of our graves with the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And when you look at Christmas, a mass of people in honor and worship of the Christ, Minister Farrakhan is bringing us to that Christmas. Excuse me, I take medication. So he's bringing us to that Christmas or Christmas aspect, and he would represent the gravitational force. And gravity is that which what inclines one to the earth. And so what would the weak force? The weak force in that equation would be the individual believer. That's why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told the minister, I want your mind. I want you to line up your mind with my mind so that they become one mind. So if he lined his mind up with the messenger, and the messenger has already lined up his mind with the God, they become one mind. You can't differentiate between that. So it's the job of the believers to line their mind up with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And once you line up, Master Farad Muhammad came for what? He came to make us rulers. That's why point number 12, you have 12 inches on a ruler. You notice most of the world is on the metric system when it comes to measurements. We're on the Old English system. We're the only ones who still deal with feet, yards. Everyone else is dealing with millimeters, centimeters, meters. Well, why is it that we still stayed on this system? Because it would be relevant at the time when God came, and it would be able to relate to the God. So when you're looking at 2/3, Master Farad Muhammad, the messenger, 1/3, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And so if you go with those 3, and then if you go with the 4 aspects, weak force, strong force, electromagnetism, gravity, you get the 3 plus the 4, so you get the 7. What's the number of heaven? 7. So that's some of the meanings of it.
Good point.
And I yield.
Good teaching. Now we're on to the next question. Now, between Sister Sharon and Brother Khalif, boy, hey, you brought that. So listen, this next question, and we're going to start with Brother Lukman, is how can variables represent genetics, biology, environment, experiences, emotion, and thoughts?
Oh, that's interesting.
Wow.
When you look at the word variable, in an equation, a variable is like a placeholder that can be occupied by pretty much any number. But when you do the word clearing of the word variable, it's going to bring you to a word. The word is called aberrant. So now when you go into our lessons, if you go into Lost Found Muslim lesson number 2, question number 8, what makes rain, hail, snow, and earthquake? One of the things that it says in that is it says that there's some currents that are cold and warm and some that are swift and changeable. Now, when you deal with swift and changeable, and you can make that applicable to knowledge, that whole lesson, you can make it applicable to really anything because they're formulae. The word variable and the word changeable will connect to the word fickle. And all of us know individuals that 1 minute they're one way, the next minute there's something else. And you're like, what the hell just happened? How did you just go from this to this? I just said this, and now you just 1 minute we're cool. I say one thing, now you're just flipping the script and you've lost your mind, right?
Yes, sir.
So the variable in an equation is a part of the equation that's not predictable. It could be anything. But now when you apply variable to an individual, there are certain parts of our own mind that are variable. There's certain parts of our mind that are changeable. And this is what is called aberrative thought. This is why someone can say something to us. Some people do it on purpose. Some people know we have buttons, and some people will purposely try to press that button to get a response from us. And sometimes individuals do this on purpose in order to make us come out of character. And then they might justify it by saying, see, I can't even have a conversation with you without you acting like a child.
Go ahead,
But
brother.
they provoked that behavior because they knew what our buttons were. So when you apply the concept of variable to a person, you could say that represents the aspect of a person that they have not yet mastered within themselves. And it's that part of a person that can make a person other than themselves.
Go
Does that
ahead.
make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. You yield or you still going?
Yes, sir. No, I yield.
Um, Brother Dr. Wadud, I will read that question again. Are you ready, sir?
No need to reread it. I have it.
Yes, sir.
And so, in looking at just the components of genetics, biology, and environment, in the medical arena, specifically epidemiology, the study of diseases and disorders in the society and the prevalence and incidence of them, there are two factors that come into play in determining what that epidemiology is. And those two factors are conflating and confounding. And what they imply is that you can take multiple variables. So if you have genetics, biology, and environment, and you try to arrive at a single conclusion while incorporating all three of them simultaneously, then you may be conflating your conclusion. What that means is because each of them has their own outcome, genetics has its own outcome, biology has its own outcome, environment has its own outcome, then you can't say that your conclusion is clearly defined if you combined all three of them together. You conflated the issue. For instance, we know that smoking has a lot of negative physical outcomes. So does drinking or consumption of alcohol. So if someone is both smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol, you can't clearly say that the outcome of their health dynamic, the detriment, is attributable to one or the other. You have to look at them individually first, because each of them can lead to that negative outcome that you arrive at. So in looking at variables from a medical vantage point, I would say travel down each road independently first so that you don't conflate or confound your conclusion by trying to say that all of these things together lead to this one outcome when any single variable could produce the outcome, and you want to know or identify that variable so that you can then say, okay, smoking leads to this outcome and alcohol can lead to this outcome because I've looked at each of them independent of each other to arrive at this conclusion, as opposed to looking at them simultaneously. And now I don't know which one is truly the cause, because both of them could be the cause.
Yes. You yield?
I yield.
Yes, sir. I see you, Sister Angela, right after Brother James. Brother James, do you want me to read that question?
No, I'm looking at the time. We only have 4 minutes.
Um,
Are we going to begin on time and end on time like we agreed?
well, I think we're kind of in the middle of it, and I think this is one of those times that it may be extended by extra 15 minutes, sir.
Okay. Well, that's not the agreement though, but see, we have, I mean, we have to, if we're going to be on time, start on time, end on time. It's like parallel lines. If you start with two parallel lines and you're trying to go a mile down the road, and one of them starts off a couple inches right here, by the time you get a mile down the road, you're going to be off 30 or 40 feet.
Yes, sir. You know, we didn't start on time. Remember, we had the little issues.
I know, but we
That was
should, I mean, even though we didn't start on time, we should start on time and end on time. That's
Yeah.
what we agreed to.
That's right. So, do you want to answer it or?
No, I yield because I'm looking at the time.
Okay. Sister Angela, what was your question, good sister?
And for respect of time, because I did work with Brother Jabril, and he was very much a stickler about that.
About time.
Next week, inshallah.
Oh, you didn't have a question, beloved? Okay. All right. All right. So listen, we didn't start on time. We were trying to figure out a couple things. There were a couple people having trouble signing in. But we're going to, from this point forward, we're going to extend that time a little bit longer because I know most of the time when we're on Brother Lukman's show, it's very hard to end in 2 hours when you have something this complex and this deep. But we will leave off here and we will end this and complete and finish up on next week because I see this is a pretty good one. And Sister Angela, remember your question, so we'll come back to that. No problem. For next show. Hopefully.
Can I just make one quick statement?
Yes, sir.
Dear family, if you have any questions, please put your questions either in the chat or send them in an email so we can incorporate your questions into next week's episode.
The chat is disabled. That's why I wasn't able to put it there.
Oh, the chat is disabled.
The
Okay.
chat disabled.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That's why I couldn't respond to you as well.
Oh, chat is disabled.
You're the co-host, so does it come up, sir, the chat at all, or no?
The only thing with the chat that comes up will be there's nothing else coming up with the chat. So that has to be something that is disabled on the individual who that is the host. That's something that has to be changed within your settings in order to enable the chat.
Okay.
But it's not something you're going to be able to figure out right now, brother.
Yeah, I just realized I looked at it and tried and said it's not going nowhere. Okay. We will have that situation fixed by next week. Didn't know that chat. I wish someone would have
But
told me.
they can still send their questions to the emails. If that's how they receive the link for this meeting, then we'll just send. They can send their questions through the email that they received, and that's how we'll receive the questions.
Fantastic. And for those who received it by text, you want to give them your email right quick, Brother Lukman?
chesstheology@aol.com. chesstheology@aol.com.
Fantastic. Okay. And we'll end in prayer. I will lead off, Brother Lukman. I'll do it in Arabic. You do it in English. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah alamin. Irrahmanirrahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyak na'budu wa iyyak nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal na'mu alayhim waladallin. Ameen.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, Master of the Day of Judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we serve, thine aid do we seek. Please, Allah, guide us on the straight path, the path upon whom thou hast bestowed favors, not the path upon whom thy wrath is brought down, nor of those who go astray if they have heard thy teaching. Amen.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. We'll be back on next Thursday. We appreciate y'all. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Happy
Alaikum
Sabbath day.
Alaikum salam.